Do you know that in just 3 weeks, I helped an ordinary man make a woman who once ignored him become absolutely obsessed with him? Lacking confidence, he had spent thousands on gifts and bombarded her with constant messages of care, yet she remained cold. But after applying the principles I'm about to share, he had her constantly seeking his attention. In my 7 years of psychological research and counseling, I've witnessed thousands of men fail in their pursuit of women they truly desire. Not because they weren't good enough. They were simply fighting without the right weapons. Today, for the first time, I will reveal the most powerful techniques combining dark psychology with Stoic philosophy, an almost perfect fusion of modern psychological power and ancient philosophical wisdom. What I'm about to share isn't about cheap tricks or manipulation. This is the subtle art of understanding and guiding human emotions. I must warn you, after this video, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. You'll start noticing subtle signs that you've never paid attention to before. Most importantly, you'll have in your possession the most powerful tools to capture the heart of any woman you desire. Make sure you watch this video until the end, because the final technique I share is the most crucial key, something that 99% of men never realize. 1. The art of scarcity. Let me share with you the first and perhaps most powerful principle in dark psychology, the art of scarcity. There's a fundamental truth that most men never realize. We always crave what we cannot easily obtain. Think about the Hermes bag that women wait a year to get, or those limited edition sneakers people queue overnight for. It's not because these items are tremendously better than others. It's simply because they're scarce. But here's the fascinating part. When applying this principle to attracting women, most men do exactly the opposite. They're always available when she needs them, reply to messages instantly, and willingly cancel all plans to meet her. Then they wonder why she doesn't find them special. The Stoic philosophers taught us, what comes easy is rarely valued. As Marcus Aurelius said, a man's worth isn't measured by the time he gives to others, but by the quality of that time. So how do we apply this principle intelligently? First, you need to create a genuinely valuable life. Don't pretend to be busy. Be genuinely engaged in meaningful pursuits. When a woman texts you, instead of immediately responding with, "What are you doing?" logically, wait until you actually have time and reply, "Sorry, just finished a meeting with partners. I can talk now." The key here isn't the delay, it's the value behind that delay. Second, create quality experiences rather than quantity. One well-planned date filled with surprises and meaning holds more value than 7 ordinary meetups. I had a client who used to see a woman he liked almost every day, getting coffee, quick lunches, casual hangouts. After I advised him, he reduced it to once a week, but made each meeting extraordinary. The result? She couldn't stop thinking about their next encounter. And here's the most crucial point. When applying the scarcity principle, never appear to be deliberately creating distance. Dark psychology isn't about pretense. It's about genuinely building your value so that your scarcity becomes natural and worthwhile. Let me share a real case study. One of my clients had been pursuing a woman for 6 months with no success. After implementing this principle, he started focusing on his career development, personal interests, and only met her when he could provide quality time. The result? Within 3 weeks, she was the one constantly seeking his attention. Remember, the goal isn't to become inaccessible, it's to become worth pursuing. When you combine dark psychology's principle of scarcity with the Stoic philosophy of self-worth, you create an irresistible aura that naturally draws women toward you. This is just the first principle, and already you can see its power. But wait until you hear about the second technique. It's even more potent when combined with what we've just learned. 2. The power of calculated indifference. Let me share with you one of the most counterintuitive yet powerful principles in dark psychology, the art of calculated indifference. This isn't about being cold or uncaring. It's about understanding a fundamental truth about human psychology that the Stoics discovered centuries ago. Epictetus once said, "He who is overly attached to his own life will be a slave to the emotions of others." This ancient wisdom perfectly aligns with what modern psychology tells us about attraction and desire. Let me tell you about Michael, one of my recent clients. He was completely invested in every reaction, every message, every slight change in tone from the woman he desired. If she took an hour to reply, his world would crumble. If she seemed less enthusiastic, his day was ruined. Can you guess what happened? The more he cared, the less she did. Here's why this principle works so powerfully. When you show that your emotional state is completely dependent on someone else, you unconsciously signal that you're of lower value. But when you maintain emotional stability, regardless of their actions, you demonstrate tremendous personal power. Let me teach you how to apply this principle effectively. First, adopt the Stoic practice of emotional self-sufficiency. When she takes hours to reply, instead of anxiously waiting, immerse yourself in your own pursuits. When she seems distant, maintain your composed demeanor. Remember, you're not pretending not to care. You're genuinely focusing on your own worth and purpose. Here's a powerful technique I teach my clients: the mirror response strategy. Whatever emotional investment she shows, mirror it back at exactly the same level. No more, no less. If she sends a one-word response, you respond similarly. If she writes a passionate paragraph, you match that energy. But here's where dark psychology adds an extra layer. Occasionally, deliberately break this pattern. When she expects you to be invested, show casual indifference. When she expects distance, show unexpected warmth. This creates an addictive uncertainty that keeps her thinking about you. I witnessed this work dramatically with another client, James. He used to overanalyze every interaction with his crush. After implementing calculated indifference, something fascinating happened. The less he seemed affected by her actions, the more she began to seek his validation. However, and this is crucial, this isn't about playing games. It's about genuinely reaching a state where your happiness and self-worth aren't dependent on anyone else's actions. As Seneca advised, the greatest power we have is the power of indifference to what lies outside our own mind. Think about it. What's more attractive? Someone whose entire emotional world revolves around your every move, or someone who would love to have you in their life but is completely content without you? This principle becomes even more powerful when combined with our next technique, which I'll share with you in a moment. But first, let me give you a warning. Once you master this, you'll need to use it ethically. The power of calculated indifference can be addictive, both for you and for those affected by it. 3. The art of creating perceived value. Let me share with you one of the most fascinating principles in dark psychology: the art of creating perceived value. This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about strategically presenting your genuine worth in a way that creates an almost irresistible attraction. The ancient Stoics understood this concept deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The value of a man lies not in what he shows to others, but in what he can accomplish." But here's where dark psychology adds a crucial twist. It's not just about what you can accomplish, but how you present those accomplishments. Let me tell you about Alex, a successful lawyer who came to me frustrated. Despite his achievements, he couldn't seem to maintain women's interest. His problem? He was too eager to display his success, listing his accomplishments like items on a resume. I taught him a powerful principle: mystery creates value. Here's how to master this principle. Instead of telling someone about your success, let them discover it. Rather than mentioning your promotion, let her overhear you taking an important business call. Instead of talking about your workout routine, let her notice your discipline through your actions. The dark psychology element here is crucial. People value what they discover more than what they're told. When a woman feels she's uncovered something impressive about you on her own, it creates a stronger emotional impact than if you'd simply told her. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Stoic practice of understating your achievements actually amplifies their impact. When you accomplish something significant but speak about it modestly, it creates an intriguing disconnect that makes people want to know more. I once worked with a client who was a self-made millionaire. His usual approach was to make sure everyone knew his worth. I taught him to do the opposite, to focus conversations on others, to show genuine interest in their stories, to only reveal his accomplishments when directly asked. The result? People became fascinated by him, constantly trying to figure out more about his mysterious success. Here's a powerful technique I teach: the value vacuum. Instead of pushing information about yourself, create situations where others are pulled to ask about you. When they have to work to learn about your value, they appreciate it more. Remember though, and this is where many men go wrong, this isn't about deception. Every hint of value you give must be genuine. As Seneca said, the false will falter, but the truth will endure. The art lies not in creating false value, but in strategically revealing your true worth. The most powerful aspect of this principle is how it creates a snowball effect. When people perceive you as valuable, they treat you differently. This different treatment is noticed by others, which further increases your perceived value. It's a self-reinforcing cycle that, once started, builds tremendous attraction. But here's the crucial warning. With great power comes great responsibility. This technique, when mastered, can create such strong attraction that you need to be careful how you use it. Because what I'm about to share next makes this principle even more powerful. Number 4, creating psychological dependency. Now, we're entering into one of the most powerful territories of dark psychology: the art of creating psychological dependency. This isn't about toxic manipulation. It's about understanding and utilizing the deep psychological patterns that create lasting emotional bonds. Let me share a profound truth that combines Stoic wisdom with modern psychology. Humans don't bond through constant pleasure, but through the rhythmic dance of presence and absence, certainty and uncertainty. Think about the most addictive mobile games. They don't give you rewards constantly. They give you just enough to keep you engaged, while always holding the promise of something more. This same principle applies to emotional attachment, but with far greater power. Let me tell you about David, a recent client. He was the perfect boyfriend, always available, consistently loving, constantly supportive. Yet his girlfriend seemed to lose interest over time. Why? Because there was no emotional contrast, no psychological tension, no space for desire to grow. Here's how to master this principle. First, create what I call emotional peaks and valleys. When you're present, be fully present, engaging, attentive, creating memorable moments. But then, create strategic distance, not through games, but through genuine focus on your own life and goals. As the Stoics taught us, the bow that is always stretched will soon break. The dark psychology element here is crucial. People become psychologically dependent, not on those who are always there, but on those who create unforgettable experiences and then leave space for longing. Here's a powerful technique I teach called emotional time dilation. When you're with her, make time feel like it's flowing faster through engaging conversation and activities. When you're apart, make time feel longer by giving her mind space to wonder about you. But here's where many men go wrong. they try to force this pattern artificially. Remember what Epictetus taught: no man is free who is not master of himself. Your absence should be filled with genuine pursuit of your own excellence, not empty game playing. I once worked with a client who transformed his relationship by implementing this principle. Instead of texting his partner constantly throughout the day, he would have one deeply engaging conversation in the evening. The anticipation of these conversations became a highlight of her day. The most powerful aspect of this principle is how it creates a positive feedback loop. When someone starts feeling a psychological pull toward you, they begin investing more emotionally. This investment makes them more committed to the relationship, which in turn deepens their psychological dependency. But here comes the crucial ethical consideration. With this power comes great responsibility. You're not just playing with someone's emotions, you're engaging with their psychological well-being. Use this knowledge to create healthy, mutually beneficial bonds, not to manipulate or harm. And what I'm about to share next makes this principle even more potent, because it deals with the deepest human need of all. Number 5, the art of reading and leading psychology. What I'm about to share might be the most sophisticated principle yet, the art of reading and leading someone's psychological state. This is where dark psychology meets Stoic observation, creating a powerful tool for understanding and subtly guiding others' emotions. Let me tell you something most men never realize. Women's actions rarely align with their words, not because they're being deceptive, but because human psychology operates on multiple levels. As the Stoics observed, men are disturbed not by things, but by their perception of things. I had a client, James, who was constantly confused by his love interest's mixed signals. She would say she needed space, yet become distant when he actually gave it to her. She'd claim she wanted someone confident, yet seemed attracted to moments of vulnerability. The problem wasn't her inconsistency, it was his inability to read the deeper psychological currents. Here's how to master this principle. First, develop what I call psychological sight. Instead of listening to what people say, watch what makes their pupils dilate, what causes micro-expressions of interest, what triggers subtle changes in voice tone. These unconscious signals never lie. Let me share a powerful technique, the echo method. When you notice a particular emotional state in someone, subtly mirror it back to them. If they're feeling excited, match their energy slightly. If they're contemplative, adjust your tone accordingly. But here's the crucial part. Once you've matched them, slowly lead them to where you want them to go. The dark psychology element here is fascinating. People are most suggestible to those they believe understand them deeply. When you demonstrate an intuitive grasp of someone's emotional state, they naturally begin to follow your emotional lead. I taught this to a client who was struggling with a woman who seemed emotionally unpredictable. Instead of reacting to her surface emotions, I showed him how to read the underlying patterns. He learned that her apparent coldness was often a test for emotional security. Her anger sometimes masked vulnerability. But here's where Stoic wisdom becomes crucial. The best response to anger is silence, taught Seneca. Sometimes, reading psychology means knowing when not to respond at all. The most powerful moves in this game are often the ones you don't make. Remember though, and this is absolutely critical, this skill comes with enormous responsibility. When you can read someone's psychological state, you gain tremendous power over their emotional world. Use this power to create understanding and connection, not manipulation. The most advanced application of this principle is what I call psychological chess. The ability to read not just current emotional states, but to anticipate emotional reactions several moves ahead. This is where true mastery lies. But be warned, what I'm about to share next makes this principle even more powerful, because it deals with the unconscious triggers that even the most self-aware person can't resist. Number 6. The power of strategic silence. Let me introduce you to perhaps the most underestimated weapon in dark psychology, the power of strategic silence. This isn't just about being quiet. It's about understanding the psychological tension that silence creates when used with precision. The Stoics understood this deeply. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Better to say nothing than to speak without purpose." But dark psychology takes this wisdom to another level entirely. Let me share a revealing case study. Michael, one of my most successful clients, used to fill every moment of tension with words. When a woman would express doubt about him, he'd launch into lengthy explanations. When she'd pull away, he'd overflow with messages and calls. I taught him something that changed everything. The most powerful response is often no response at all. Here's why this works at such a deep psychological level. Humans are meaning-making machines. When faced with silence, our minds work overtime to fill that void with meaning. This creates what I call psychological echo, where your silence forces others to confront their own thoughts and feelings about you. Let me teach you how to master this principle. First, understand the 3 types of strategic silence. Response. Silence. When they expect an immediate reaction. Presence. Silence. When you're physically there, but emotionally still. Distance. Silence. When you temporarily disappear from their radar. The power lies in knowing exactly which type to use and when. I once watched a client transform a woman's interest by simply not responding to a mildly dismissive comment she made. His silence spoke volumes, and within hours, she was reaching out, trying to gauge his reaction. But here's where dark psychology intersects with Stoic wisdom. Your silence must come from a position of strength, not weakness. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you choose silence, it should be a conscious choice, not an emotional reaction. The most powerful technique I teach is what I call the vacuum effect. When someone makes an emotional bid for your attention or reaction, create a deliberate void. This vacuum will often pull them into your orbit more strongly than any words could. However, and this is crucial, strategic silence must be used with precision. Like a sharp blade, it can either be a powerful tool or a dangerous weapon. Used incorrectly, it can damage relationships permanently. Used skillfully, it can create intense attraction and respect. I've seen this principle work miracles with my clients. One man was dealing with a woman who was constantly testing his boundaries. Instead of engaging in her emotional games, he learned to respond with calculated silence. The result? She began treating him with a level of respect she showed to no one else. Remember though, this isn't about being cold or unavailable. It's about understanding that your silence, when used strategically, can speak louder than any words. As the saying goes, no one ever regretted not saying something. But here's the fascinating part. What I'm about to share next makes this principle even more powerful, because it deals with how to break that silence in ways that create maximum impact. Number 7. Control through freedom. Let me share with you the most sophisticated principle of all, the art of control through perceived freedom. This is where dark psychology reaches its peak, combining with Stoic wisdom to create something truly powerful. You see, the greatest paradox in human psychology is this: people crave freedom, yet they're most attracted to what they feel they can't fully control. Let me explain how to master this delicate balance. I worked with a client, let's call him Robert, who couldn't understand why women kept pulling away despite his strong feelings for them. His problem? He tried to control everything: their time, their attention, their decisions. I taught him something counterintuitive. True power comes from giving freedom while maintaining influence. Here's the principle in action. Instead of telling a woman, "Let's meet Friday at 8, say, I'm free Friday evening and next Tuesday. What works better for you? You're still controlling the options, but she feels she's making the choice. This is what I call guided freedom. The Stoics understood this paradox well. Seneca wrote, "The greatest power is the power to set others free." But here's where dark psychology adds a crucial element. When you give someone freedom, they often choose to stay closer than if you tried to hold them. Let me share a powerful technique I call the freedom bind. When you sense someone pulling away, instead of tightening your grip, expand their freedom dramatically. I understand you need space. Take all the time you need to figure out what you want. This often creates a psychological boomerang effect. The more freedom you give, the more they want to stay. But here's the crucial part. This must be genuine. You can't fake detachment. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. When you truly embrace giving freedom, you achieve a level of power that controlling behavior never could. I've seen this transform relationships repeatedly. One client was dealing with a woman who seemed commitment phobic. The more he tried to secure commitment, the more she resisted. When he learned to genuinely be okay with her freedom, something fascinating happened. She began seeking commitment from him. Remember though, this isn't manipulation. It's understanding deep human psychology. People value what they choose freely over what they're forced to accept. By mastering this principle, you create a form of influence far more powerful than control. The most advanced application is what I call choice architecture. You structure situations where others freely make the choices you prefer, not because you forced them, but because you understood and aligned with their natural inclinations. But here's the warning. This principle requires tremendous emotional maturity. You must truly be willing to let go. If you're just pretending to give freedom while internally needing control, people will sense your inauthenticity. This is where our journey through these principles comes full circle. When you combine all seven, from scarcity to freedom, you create a presence that's nearly irresistible. Not because you're trying to control or manipulate, but because you understand and work with the deepest patterns of human psychology. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use these principles to create genuine connections and positive relationships, not to manipulate or harm. Because in the end, the most attractive quality is authenticity combined with understanding. As we reach the end of this journey through dark psychology and Stoic wisdom, let me share something profound. The principles I've taught you aren't just about attracting women. They're about understanding the deepest patterns of human psychology and using them with wisdom and purpose. Think about where you were at the beginning of this video. Perhaps you were struggling to understand why your efforts weren't working, why the women you desired seemed uninterested despite your best intentions. Now, you possess something far more valuable than simple techniques. You have understanding. You've learned the art of scarcity, the power of calculated indifference, how to create perceived value, the mastery of psychological dependency, the skill of reading and leading psychology, the power of strategic silence, and finally, the sophisticated art of control through freedom. But remember this crucial truth. With great power comes great responsibility. These principles work, sometimes almost too well. I've seen men transform from being completely invisible to women to having almost too much power over them. This is why the Stoic element is so crucial. It keeps you grounded, ethical, and focused on genuine connection rather than manipulation. Let me share one final case study. James, my most successful client, didn't just use these principles to attract the woman he desired. He used them to build a relationship of genuine depth and mutual respect. When I asked him the secret of his success, he said something profound. I stopped trying to make her want me, and started becoming someone worth wanting. That's the essence of everything we've discussed today. These dark psychology principles show you how human attraction works, while Stoic wisdom teaches you how to apply this knowledge ethically and effectively. Before I end this video, let me give you one final warning. What I've shared with you today is powerful. Use it wisely, use it ethically, and most importantly, use it to create genuine connections, not just to satisfy your ego. For those of you who want to dive deeper into these principles, I'll be releasing an advanced series soon. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. The techniques I'll share in that series make what we've discussed today look basic in comparison. Remember, true power isn't about control. It's about understanding. Understanding yourself, understanding others, and understanding the delicate dance of human psychology. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.